Hi again, it's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm, and today I am going to talk about banana peels and revisit the topic of Epsom salts and burying fish in the planting hole of your plants and some of these miraculous claims that are made on the internet that are so ubiquitous these days. And you know, I have to say I have mixed feelings about being a debunker, somebody who comes in and throws cold water on a new gardener who sees these techniques and topics and thinks, I have the secret now to growing the greatest roses. So why should I try to discourage people from these techniques? And I've thought about that a little bit, and the answer is because I want people to succeed. So aside from just being a distraction from proper techniques, some of these can actually be harmful to your success. So let's go through them real quick here, and maybe I can make you see what I mean. Let's go to Epsom salts first, because I think that'll make my point very quickly here. I've made another video on Epsom salts, particularly for the use in roses, but there are some garden YouTubers who should definitely know better than this, going around sprinkling Epsom salts like magic fairy dust all over their gardens. And they talk about it as in it's something that will improve your tomatoes or improve your roses. Well, here's the thing. Epsom salts is just a mineral salt. It's made up of magnesium and it's made up of sulfur. If those are in short supply in your garden, certainly it actually will improve things. But how do you know you're short of those in the garden? So people put it on indiscriminately. Here's the problem, and I'm going to say specifically with magnesium. High magnesium levels, if you elevate those, can actually make it hard for your plant to uptake other nutrients, like calcium, for instance. So if you're thinking that I sprinkle this all over my tomatoes and I end up with great tomatoes, but then you also end up with blossom end rot, well, the magnesium may have interrupted the uptake of the calcium. That's one of the ways it can happen. So trying to solve one problem, you've created another problem. With roses, it's often pointed out as this thing that you should standard do in every soil across the country is throw in a supplemental quarter cup of Epsom salts, several times a year. But the thing is, not every soil is deficient in magnesium. It's something you would have to test for. This is why I made the case in the other video that you are far, far better applying a more balanced fertilizer or an organic amendment that will feed all across the spectrum for your roses rather than just that one nutrient. But banana peels, I mean, what could be wrong with that? Nothing really, but honestly, they're nothing special. Let's look at NPK. NPK is the way that manufacturers of fertilizer products measure the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the three main nutrients that go into growing plants. And for banana peels, it's something fairly low, something like 0.1, 0.1, 2.3. The thing you have to understand about this, and I'm going to link you to a site that shows you all of this, that everything organic that you could add to your garden has an NPK, and in many cases on this list, they're a lot better than banana peels. I'm going to show you the NPK for various things here: cantaloupe rinds, oak leaves, the roses that you deadhead from your garden, the timothy hay that you put in the bedding of your pets, your hamster. All of these they have their own NPK, and in some cases, like I say, they're just as good as banana peels. So why this singular focus on banana peels? And you know, I can't answer that question. It really does seem to be like a zeitgeist that goes on where people just get hyper focused on one thing. What I will say is that in addition to banana peels being nothing special, you should just add them to your compost along with everything else. If you are doing something like taking a whole bunch of banana peels and putting them into liquid and sort of fermenting them for a week, I want to give you a caution about that because, you know, one of my favorite amendments that are used around the garden is alfalfa pellets. I use alfalfa pellets on my roses, but people do this thing where they turn it into a magic potion. They put it into a big bin, they put some water in it, maybe they put some other secret ingredients in there, maybe there's some Epsom salts in there too, and they try to brew it into this fast-acting, fast-release kind of compost tea. The problem with this is it actually kind of works. If you release the nutrients and the sugars and the proteins and you dissolve all of that up into that liquid and you dump it onto the base of your plants, you've added a whole bunch of nutrients very, very quickly to the base of that plant and to the soil. And what you'll see is a big bloom of all of the soil bacteria and soil fungus directly after that, because you've put a lot of concentration into that soil very, very quickly, which isn't really the way that nature feeds in general. You don't make a tea of it first. Normally, you just add the dry material to the top of the plant and then let it rot over a length of time. That's why composting is such an intuitive way to add nutrients to your garden, because you let it rot first and then you just add it or gently work it into the top layer of the soil, and then it releases the way that it kind of does in nature, if you know what I mean. Okay, stick with me for one more here, because I see these videos that ask what will happen if you bury a fish underneath your tomato plant as you first plant it in your garden. Well, first of all, nothing magical. A fish, again, is just another piece of organic matter. It will rot over time if it stays in the ground. But the real life consequence of this is, and I guarantee you in my garden here, if I buried a fish under any plant as I put it into the garden, that some skunk or raccoon or other rodent would find that and dig it up and heavily disturb the root system of my plant. So that's why I have some skepticism around these things. You have to think about the real world consequences of it. There's no magic going on here, and sometimes it can be harmful to the outcome. I want to finish up this video by saying that I don't intend to become a full-time debunker. It's not, I have no appetite for it, but I want to point you in the direction of a couple of other people who I think are really good at this. Robert Pavlis, he's written a book on garden myths. He has a website. He also is here on YouTube as well. I'm going to strongly recommend him and say link over to his channel, because he does a lot of this. The other one is Ashley from Gardening in Canada. I've collaborated with her before on this channel, and she again takes a real good soil science-based approach to busting some of these garden myths. All right, thanks so much for watching, and if you have any questions, please drop those down in the comments below the video.